the elementary principal of Des Moines Christian School. And I have the privilege of presenting to you our keynote speaker this evening. And standing beside me is a young lady named Sarah Veurink. And I want to give you a little background information about Sarah. Sarah is a 5th grader at our school, and last fall I noticed that I had an appointment on my calendar. And the person that wanted to meet with me was Sarah. And so the day arrived and she came into my office with her mom, and she sat down and she started telling me that she really believes that God had laid a message on her heart to share with all of us. And so I started to visit with her, and I said, well, Sarah, and she was asking if she could present a chapel, in fact, to our students. And I said, Sarah, to present a chapel, you have quite a wide audience of people to speak to, as you have kindergarten through 6th graders. And she proceeded to show me that she had a notebook with her, filled with her points of what she wanted to share with the students at Des Moines Christian School. And then I said to her, well, kindergarten through 6th grade, it might be a little bit hard to keep all of their attention, so what are some things we could do? And you suddenly thought to yourself, what could you make?
A Prezi.
A Prezi? Do you know what a Prezi is? Well, a Prezi is a PowerPoint that you had learned to make in your 5th grade class under the direction of your teacher, Mr. Wilson, right? And we saw a little bit of Mr. Wilson in that video. So, Sarah was so poised. We were so proud of her, and I know that her mom and I both believed that we were just sitting and watching God at work in this young lady's life. And she proceeded to share a chapel message that was so impressive that we knew that we were so blessed by it that it would bless many others as well. And so, Sarah, we're going to just have our audience get to know you just a little bit. Can you tell them how old you are?
I'm 11.
And do you have any family here today?
My mom is right there, and then my grandparents are over there.
Awesome.
And my sister.
Sister too, that's good. And can you tell them what your favorite color is?
Purple.
Purple, and there's another one.
Yellow.
Yellow. You see how we decorated for Sarah? Purple and yellow going on here. What's your favorite food?
Waffles.
And what's maybe a food that you're not so crazy about?
Spinach smoothies.
Spinach smoothies. Who makes you those?
My mom, but they're good for me, so.
That's good. That's good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have a good for us address tonight presented by Sarah Veurink. Please help welcome Sarah Veurink.
Hello, everyone, and like Mrs. Lowe said, I'm in Mr. Wilson's 5th grade class. Previously this year, I spoke at Elementary Chapel, and I just felt God with me, and I felt like I could feel connected with everyone there. And after chapel, I told my mom I want to do this again, and so we prayed that night, and I came up after specials, and Mrs. Yentis was sitting outside my door, and she said, will you meet me for lunch? And I said yes, and I just thought she was gonna talk to me about my chapel, and we got there and we ate, and Callie was with me. Callie's right there. And after that, we just sat there, and she said, Sarah, will you talk as a benefit for me? And I was just amazed. I had never had that experience of God just answering my prayers so quickly. And my dad went to heaven 2 years ago, and before I start, I'm going to pray. Dear Jesus, thank you for this amazing school, and thank you for the incredible teachers and staff, and thank you for all the work they put in, and please just bless this my speech tonight, and thank you for the gift of praising you, because you are so amazing, and we are so happy that we can praise you at this school. And please just work through me tonight that we can all grow closer in our relationship with you. Amen. Okay, this speech is not going to be about me, because if I were to talk about me, that's not important. The important part is that what I've learned through the experience of my dad going to heaven, that's the important part. all the rest is just stuff that happened to me, and I'm not important. God is. And this whole speech is from him, not from me. I'm going to go through 5 points, and so I'm going to start at my first one. My first one is pure joy whenever, and as you saw in that video, that is our school's theme for this year. Before I start talking about pure joy whenever, we need to know what's the difference between joy and happiness. And I just thought they were kind of the same thing, but I looked it up and they were very different. Joy is a feeling of great pleasure and happiness. Happiness is a state of well-being characterized by emotions ranging from contentment to intense joy. I think the difference is happiness is more of a feeling, and joy is more of an emotion. It's something that you can feel without being super happy. It's just like having a good attitude. James 1:2-4 says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith develops perseverance. Perseverance must finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." And I didn't know what that meant when I first read that. I'm like, pure joy, trials, I don't get it. And so I asked my mom, and she said that we need to consider our hard times as pure joy. We need to have pure joy during those times. I'm going to move on to my second point, and it is representatives for God. We know that God gave us joy, and we need to have joy, or else if we are not having joy, people are going to think being a Christian is terrible. We know that it's amazing, and it's the best decision you could ever make. When I went to Hawaii this spring break, we were out walking, and I saw this person, and he was holding up a sign for like this boat company where you could go for like a boat ride, and he was just like, there's this fence behind by the sea, and he was holding up a sign, and he was just leaning on the fence. And when I looked at him, he looked pretty bored with his job, so it didn't want to make me go on the boat ride. God is so amazing, and we are just humans, and we are representing him. And it's just so weird that God chose us, and we can't be amazing examples for him, but we can try, because we are nothing compared to him. Exodus 34:5-7 says, "Then the Lord came down in the cloud and stood there with him and proclaimed his name, the Lord, and passed in front of Moses, proclaiming, the Lord, the compassionate and gracious God, slow to anger, abounding in love and faithfulness, maintaining love to thousands, and forgiving wickedness, rebellion, and sin." Yet he does not leave the guilty unpunished. He punishes the children and their children for the sin of their fathers to the 3rd and 4th generation. When I read that verse, I just go, whoa, that is our God. And we are representing that amazing King of Kings and Creator. We just have to do our best to we can't get anything like that, because we can try, but we are just so little compared to him. My third point is, what does it mean to have joy? First of all, not to be angry. That's a little bit obvious, but you don't have to be super happy all the time. Joy is having a good attitude and just not being grouchy or angry. Psalms 47:1 says, "Clap your hands, all people, shout to God with loud songs of joy." And the people in the Bible, in Bible times, went through very hard situations and trials. And they were praising God, they were shouting to him, and we go through hard times, and we just kind of we feel bad for ourselves. Romans 12:12 says, "Be joyful in hope, patient in suffering, faithful in prayer." And when I feel like this verse, I feel like it's saying what joy means. And it means to be content, to be joyful in hope, so we need to be happy happy when we're waiting for something, when we're hoping. Patient and suffering. So when we're being patient and waiting for something, I think that part of being patient is being joyful, because if we're just waiting and not being joyful and just having a bad attitude, there's no point. My fourth point is contentment, joy and contentment. We need to be content and joyful with everything we have. And I feel like I've been told that so many times. And since we are humans, we can't do that. We can try, but we just aren't that good. And we just want more and more. And the thing is, when we go to heaven, it doesn't count. It doesn't matter. It just kind of all goes to waste. And we have to have a good attitude. And 1 Timothy 6:6-8 says, "But godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into the world, and we can take nothing out of it. But if we have food and clothing, we will be content with that." So what I feel like that's saying is, we haven't created anything. That's what God did. And we want stuff, and we aren't content. And none of it's going to matter when we leave the earth. And it's saying if we have our necessities, what we need, we should be content with that. My fifth point is joy through suffering. And when you're going through a hard time, it is so hard to keep a joyful attitude. Because I remember when my dad was sick, I would just feel sorry for myself. I thought I had an exception because my dad was sick and dying. But no, none of us have an exception to not be joyful and not be happy. Because we are representatives for God all the time in everything we do. Like before, you don't have to be happy all the time, because being happy and joyful all the time is impossible for us. You don't have to be happy, but you should keep a good attitude through it all, because you know that whatever happens is for the good, and God works through the good. And through anything, even through the hardest things, we should have joy. And God is with us, so we don't have to be scared. He's so amazing, and He's protecting us. Romans 8:18 says, "That's why I don't think there's any comparison between the present hard times and the coming good times. The created world itself can hardly wait for what's coming next. Everything in creation is being more or less held back. God reigns in it until both creation and all the creatures are ready and can be released at the same moment into the glorious times ahead. Meanwhile, the joyful eagerness deepens." And Paul is saying that we have this amazing time coming ahead. We have heaven coming ahead if you believe in Christ. And so we should be joyful about that. We should be thankful that we can go to heaven after this time. And through the hard times, it's hard to think of that. It was hard to think, my dad's going to go to a good place and I'm going to be sad. That doesn't sound right to me. And so it says, "Meanwhile, the joyful eagerness deepens." And so we need to be eager about heaven. We need to be excited about heaven. Joy is so important to being a Christian. I feel like that's why it's one of the fruits of the spirits. And I just really hope this impacted you to have more joy, and thank you for listening to me.
I don't know how we can't step
you're gonna do great things. I already know God's got his hand on you.